Congress can stop Donald. Welcome to Law and Society, and let's briefly talk about it. Congress has the power under Section 8 of Article 1 to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. It has the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. So it has the power under Article 1 to be able to impose tariffs. Now, Congress has delegated in several instances the power to tariff to the executive. And in this situation, it seems as though Donald Trump is using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 as the premise upon which he is imposing these tariffs. Well, the only way for that to stop is for Congress to legislate and cancel the tariffs that Donald Trump has imposed on Canada and other countries. The other way would be for any party who is being harmed to bring a cause of action against the government, saying that these actions are causing harm, and these tariffs are unconstitutional because they, don't fall under the reasonings of the International Emergency Powers Act. Because what emergency are you talking about here? So, starting off there, I wanted you to know that there is a bill right now, a resolution by the Senate that was signed by Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski that would cancel the tariffs to Canada. So why do you think, what struck out to me in that bill is that both senators from Kentucky have signed this resolution to cancel Canadian tariffs. And I think that was a strategic mastery on Canada's part to impose bans and tariffs and restrictions on liquor and imports coming from red states. So we see that reflect in this vote where both Kentucky senators have come out against tariffs. Now, if both Kentucky senators have, then there must be some Republican House members from Kentucky who also have felt the same pressure from the citizens as these two senators have. Because otherwise they wouldn't just dilly-dally get onto a bill with the Democrats. So it's an uphill battle. It's a really uphill, quite hypothetical battle, war plan, so to speak, political, peaceful, where you convince the speaker to put the bill on the floor, then you get enough votes to pass it. Obviously, Donald Trump is going to veto it, but then the real battle will come of whether that veto can be overridden by 2/3 of both chambers. Well, each senator who signed the resolution should start lobbying for veto-proof Senate on tariffs, at least against Canada to begin with. There should be enough votes in the House from red states, where their imports have been heavily impacted by this war with Canada. That should include Tennessee as well, because Kentucky and Tennessee liquor are some of our most famous exports to the world. So it would be an uphill battle to get to that number of 2/3 of Senate and 2/3 of Congress to override that veto. But it's not impossible if you see what is happening around the country. Within a month or so, we are going to feel the impact of these tariffs. JP Morgan has put out a forecast that has increased the risk of recession to 60%. JP Morgan says that we're going to be feeling the crunch in the second and third quarters. So I would say the second half of the second quarter is when it's going to start really impacting people in a way that they start calling their representatives and their senators. And I hope that people do call. Issuing an executive order on its own is not law. That's why Donald Trump bases it on the Emergency Powers Act. And that can be contested in the courts by those who are being harmed by these policies, by this executive order that does not comport with the law. So the Supreme Court would ultimately have the say on whether these tariffs are legal or not on the basis of whether it is a valid use of the Emergency Powers Act to be able of 1977 to base your tariffs on. And these tariffs on their face are arbitrary and impulsive, capricious. They're also broad, overbroad, and vague in a way that, it just sort of hatchet jobs or sort of chainsaws the entire thing. You can't chainsaw your way around the world with the bully tactics of tariffs. And if Congress allows this to keep happening, then Congress will have given away its power under Article 1's power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. It will have, and if the courts don't check this also, I would assume that there would be lawsuits about this coming from people who are being harmed by these tariffs, that, it's not even the legal application of the Emergency Powers Act. So, unless checked by Congress, there's very little anybody can do. SCOTUS can rule on the constitutionality of the executive order and whether it legitimately falls within the parameters of the law, the statute, by which Congress has vested this power onto the president. So it is important for us, Americans, to call our representatives, to call our senators, also call our state representatives and state senators and tell them to call our representatives and senators. Looks like Kentucky senators are on board with this thing. Why can't Kentucky senators convince some from other states that are being impacted? I'm sure that Vermont will be impacted. I'm sure that there are other parts of the country that will be impacted. Prices are going to go up for anything that comes from Canada. And by the time the product that is in the United States in the form of trees cuts down to lumber and gets to the market in the United States, it's going to cost the same as a tariff-imposed Canadian lumber would. Because why in God's earth would any company in a capitalist society say, oh, okay, we're providing you with the same quality product as those imports, if not better, and we can't charge you at least what they are charging? It doesn't make any economic sense. So, there might be a discount on products like cars made by Ford that have companies, most of its manufacturing in the United States. But at some point, that discount will hit the profit margin of Ford as well, because there are a lot of foreign parts that come in to the United States for cars. And I'm sure that Ford doesn't make everything on its own, from every screw to every, stitching, like Rolls-Royce or something. So what I'm telling you right now is that Congress can stop Donald. Congress can carve out exceptions to the powers already legislated and delegated to the executive and say, no, these tariffs don't fit into the mold of any of those statutes that give the president power to impose tariffs. And I think that it needs to happen as a symbol, as a movement, as a showing of what the people are saying to their representatives and their senators and every political official who will listen to them, who will convey their message to the people in Congress, that no, you need to stand up against these tariffs, because these tariffs are having real harm on small businesses all around the country and on major businesses like liquor production in Kentucky and other states. We're going to feel it. When you have major defense people, America exports a massive amount it's the largest exporter of weapons in the world. Well, what happens when Europe stops buying from American Lockheed Martin and all those companies? What happens? What happens? Then that company becomes has to rely on our government solely to be its client, or maybe there will be other like South Korea or something, but our market will go down. So I don't know where I'm going. There's just so many issues going on right now, but the tariff thing is really irksome because it is unnecessary. Had Donald Trump just let Joe Biden's economy go and just let it take its course and let the things happen as they happen, if they hadn't fired the people who were looking for solutions to the avian flu problem because of egg prices, if they didn't fire NIH people, if they aren't gutting HHS, you could have a country, if Donald Trump didn't do these things and just went golfing every single day that he's in office, the country would have hummed along just fine. But no, this particular administration and this regime, this authoritarian oligarchic regime is manhandling our economy back to the Stone Age. It's grinding us back by saying that we are going to become isolationists. We are going to, tell people, yeah, if you want to buy our products, you're going to have to pay more. And if you want to sell in America, it's going to cost people more. We're going to make it difficult for you to be able to, essentially engage in commerce. So in a way, the president is not facilitating the regulation, the pursuance of commerce. He's stopping commerce. That kind of goes against the power to regulate commerce. It doesn't say power to destroy the commerce, the whole economy. So I don't know what Congress will do. Mike Johnson will probably not even take this up. But I mean, don't think that Congress doesn't have the power. It theoretically does. But it has already given up its advice and consent responsibility. It's given away its spending power by allowing Donald Trump to continue making cuts that were legislated and appropriated by Congress. There goes the advice and consent. And so we have people like Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and J.D. Vance, who wasn't nominated, he was elected. The entire sort of top intelligence leadership on a signal chat talking about a military operation that, if leaked, could have jeopardized the lives of the people who were going to carry out the mission, the American service members who were carrying out the mission. So they gave up their advice consent power, the Senate did, and then it's giving up its lawmaking and oversight power by letting Donald Trump's executive powers work as fiat powers within the confines, no matter how broad or vague, no matter how arbitrary and capricious, within the confines of whatever Congress has allowed presidents to do. Clearly, these are not things that Congress has delegated for presidents to do. Because what is the emergency? What was the emergency that can you make it specific? There's that specificity requirement in law. What is that specific thing, emergency, that allows this president to upend the global economy? Our economy and the global economy is now in crisis and in an emergency because Donald Trump pushed us into one. And Congress has a responsibility of reining the president in. And impeachment is a non-starter. Impeachment, if you can't get even one person in the House of Representatives to rise up to take up the Senate resolution, how are you going to get impeachment going in the House with Mike Johnson as Speaker? It's just not, it's not going to happen. But these are impeachable acts. The fact that he's hacking away the institution of the separation of powers and hacking away at our economy, hacking away at our infrastructure, hacking away at our institutions, they all amount to impeachable action that is actions of a unitary, unchecked executive where neither the courts nor Congress is quickly enough taking care of reining the president in. The harm being caused in the interim is massive. And we are going to feel that in the next 5 or 6 months. And then what is the country going to do? What is the world going to do? What are all these programs going to do? What are the millions and millions of Americans going to do who are waiting for their Social Security? And if they don't even have their Social Security, how are they going to pay for already rising cost of everything? Like Donald Trump just talks about groceries like groceries was like some amusement park or something because he hasn't been to one. He hasn't been to a grocery store in his life. But for people who work paycheck to paycheck, this time will be dark. So please conserve your resources, observe and check the markets, check the news, check prices, learn to budget. Don't get into unnecessary fights with people. That's not going to get you anywhere. But reassert your power to peacefully protest and have the courage to do that. With that said, please stay safe. I went longer than I wanted to, but, I'm just a little upset about the fact that Congress isn't doing what it should be doing. Take care.